Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for joining this video. So I'm sure that many of us are using Google Form to create custom surveys to get feedbacks on maybe product or campaign or any live sessions that they are conducting. And wouldn't it be really nice that we can understand the sentiments as well of the feedbacks that we receive and maybe perhaps narrow down on the negative or neutral feedbacks directly in the spreadsheet. And this will also help us to save our bandwidth of going over individual feedbacks and understanding what's wrong with them. Rather, we will go over only the neutral and the negative comments and improve on those scopes. This will also help us to understand the customer's sentiment demographic, and we will have a clear visualization on the sentiments that we are receiving via the feedbacks. So having the context set, let us look at the main objective and the tools that we are going to use today and see a little demo on the tool that we are going to build as its end result. Okay, so the objective of this is to create a custom function so that we can get the sentiment of the feedbacks that we receive via Google Forms and utilize that to create a visualization in the spreadsheet itself. The tools that we're going to use are mainly comprises of Google Sheet and Python. In Python, we will create an API like we did in the previous video using Fast API. And to build a sentiment model, we will use NLTK package. The IDE remains same as a PyCharm, and the version control will be Git and GitHub. Deployment would be via Heroku only. The design architecture and the API architecture would remain same as we have covered in the previous video, and we will attach a link of that video in the description as well, so that you can also go through that to understand how we could build a custom model or a custom function in Google Spreadsheet via Python. Okay. And the basic learning that we will have is we will be able to create a sentimental analysis model using NLTK, and we will also overcome some common problems that we kind of deal with when dealing with NLTK package, and how to overcome them in their local platform as well as while deploying the app in Heroku. And then we will understand the basics of version control, deployment of a web app, and creating a custom function in Google Spreadsheet. So for this example, I have set up a Google form to receive feedbacks from all the customers regarding say any sample survey that we are conducting about the product. And attached to this Google form, we have a spreadsheet in which all of our feedbacks along with the timestamp is getting populated. Okay, and at the end stage, this is what we're going to have. We will have a custom function called getSentiment, which will take a cell or a text as an input, and it will provide us the sentiment of that particular text. So say in working, we will have a Google spreadsheet in which we can get the customer's feedback. And when he can submit, and it will get directly populated in the spreadsheet itself, and we can run our custom function on top of it to get all the sentiments from the feedbacks that we receive. And we can further build a simple dashboard to understand the demographic of all the sentiments that we have received. Along with that, we can perhaps as well narrow down to only those sentiments which needs an improvement, like negative and neutral sentiments that we have received, and we can work on those sentiments rather than going over each feedback individually and understanding whether there is a need for improvement or not. So with this context and with this end result, we will go further and build this from scratch and understand how to build this and deploy this in Heroku. So let us jump back to our favorite IDE. So for this exercise, I'm using PyCharm. I have already set up my project and created a virtual environment for this project. And now we will go ahead and install a few important libraries like Fast API and NLTK. NLTK package will help us build a model on sentiment analysis, and you can directly install that via pip install commands in your terminal in the same virtual environment that you have created. I already have that library installed. If you do not have that installed, you can write this pip install command in your virtual environment terminal and get that installed. Otherwise, if you are using PyCharm, you can go to your bottom right corner, click on Enterprise Settings, click on Add Packages, and search for NLTK in the package list. Once you find that, click on it and click on Install Packages, and it will get installed in your virtual environment. So once we have NLTK installed, we will go ahead and download some data packages from NLTK, which will help us use some of the pre-built models of NLTK. One such data pack is called Veda Lexicon. We will utilize that in this exercise, and let's create a scratch file and download that. Okay. First, we will import NLTK, and within we will write nltk.download Veda Lexicon. Okay, so once you run this, if your PC has verified SSL or certificates, then it will go ahead and download. Otherwise, we will bypass the SSL certificate and download it the other way. So let's try and running it once. If this runs, that's well and good. Otherwise, we will bypass the SSL certificate and download it without SSL certified protocols. Okay, I'm getting a SSL certificate error. So for this, I will import SSL, and I will make my default SSL certificate. As an unverified certificate. Okay, now my package is getting downloaded, and since I already have that package, it shows me that the package Veda Lexicon is already up to date. So now let us move to the good part and create a sentiment analysis model using NLTK package. Okay. For this, I will comment out all these lines for now, and we will import from nltk.sentiments import sentiment intensity analyzer. From this class, we will create an object called SIA to signify as an object from sentiment intensity analyzer class. And this object has a method called polarity scores, where you can pass on your text and get a score of all the polarities or all the sentiments from -1 to 1. Okay, let us write a short sentence now, and let's see what results do we get. Let's run this once. Okay, so this is the dictionary that you will get once you pass a text to this polarity score method. Over here we can see that there are three major sentiments: negative, neutral, and positive. Each has an intensity assigned to it and it will vary from -1 to 1, and then overall there will be a compound score. So for this exercise, we will build a scoring method, kind of pretty basic one, where we will use if the compound score is greater than 0.5, then we will consider that as a positive. If that is less than -0.5, we will consider that as a negative sentiment, and anything that lies in the middle ground, we will use that as a neutral sentiment. You can tweak around with your business problems and the feedbacks that you get, and see which combination and which scoring method works best for you. So now we will encapsulate all these logics in a function which will take a text as an input and will give us a sentiment, which is a string, in return. Okay, so we will go ahead and create that function. This will take text as an input, which will be type str, we will write the same logic over here. And we will get the score using the same method that we have used in the previous scratch file. This will take the text as my input and give me the score. So from the score that we get from the polarity score, we will build a logic and get the sentiment from the compounds using the compound score. What we'll be using is, if the compound score is greater than or equal to 0.5, then we will call that as a positive sentiment. If that is lesser than or equal to negative 0.5, we will call this as a negative sentiment. And anything in middle ground, we will call that as a neutral sentiment. So let's quickly write that. Okay, and then we will just return the sentiment. So let us just once test the function that we have built right now. Okay, so this function is working properly. Let's check it for side. Okay, so this function is working properly. So let us go ahead and build an API out of this. So to build an API, I will just quickly create a main file in my root directory called name. And over here, I will import few of my important libraries, like from ltk.sentiment. I will import my sentiment intensity analyzer, and we quickly go over my interpreter and add fast API in my packages. I need to add UVCon as well. Okay, so having my packages installed, I will just quickly import them. Okay, so using sentiment intensity analyzer, we will analyze and build our model. Using fast API, we will build the API. Using fast API redirect response class, we will be able to make redirection in our existing URLs. And using base model from Pydantic, we will be able to define our custom data model. Okay, now so the only kind of data that we need is going to be text. So we will extend this base model class and create a class of our own called text. This will be an extension of the base model class. The only attribute that it will have is called text, and it will be of type string. Okay, now we will just reuse the logic that we built right now in the scratch file. Okay, and now we will initiate an object of fast API class called app, and we will create a route in app. And just name this as get sentiment, and this will be a function called get sentiment. It will take an variable called text, which will be of type text. Okay, so I will just rename this function once. this function. So in this we are getting an variable called text, which is of type class text. So in this text we will have an attribute called text again, which will have the input string. Okay, so we will pass this as our output and return the same. Okay, once this is done, the bare bones of our API is made. Let's check this and run this in our local environment. So we'll just say python -m unicorn main app, and the host would be my local host, port would be 8080, and we will use the reload flag so that anytime we make any changes it will automatically get refreshed in the web. Okay, we will just copy this URL, go to our web page and go to its doc directory. Okay, we'll find that it's already there, it's working. So let us test that. Okay, we are getting a positive sentiment for happy. Similarly, we will just try for sad. We're getting -1, and any neutral sentiment like hunger which come as neutral. Okay, so with this, the bare bones of our API is now made. So we will just look at one nuances. So usually when we deploy any app, it does not go to the docs endpoint. It usually goes to the root endpoint that we have, and we do not have any details over here. So what we will do, we will redirect this URL to our docs page. So anytime anyone visits this endpoint, they will automatically get redirected to the documentation. To do that, we will just quickly jump to the IDE. And over here, we will be using this redirect response class from fastapi.responses, and we will redefine the base URL. So we will kind of simply use this one only, but instead of get, it will be, instead of post, it will be get, and the URL that we want to replace is our root URL. We will make this include in schema as false, otherwise this URL will also get populated on our docs page. We do not want that. So, and we will return them the redirected response to /docs. Okay, cool. Okay, see, it's working. Okay, so having created the redirection from the root endpoint to the docs page, most of our web-based tasks and redirection tasks are done. So right now we will go ahead with the deployment of this app. In our previous video on creating a custom function in Google Spreadsheet using Python, we have deployed the Python web app in Heroku environment. So right now we will do the same procedure. Over here we will just create some additional file this time, which will help us in the deployment. So first phase is we will create a requirements.txt file. Okay, so this will create a requirements file in my root directory automatically. Then I will go ahead and create a proc file, which will be used by Heroku to run, or to understand which app to run when the web app starts. Okay, then I will go ahead and create another file called runtime .txt. Over here I will just specify the Python version that I'm using. So for me it's 3.10.2, and then I will create another file called nltk.txt. So remember, we had installed our Veda lexicon package. So to tell Heroku that these are the NLTK packages that I will require for this app, we have to specify the names in an nltk.txt package, this file. Okay, so we have our main file, proc file, requirements.txt and runtime.txt set, and we will just upload these files to Git and then push that to Heroku. Okay, so I have uploaded all the required files in a new GitHub repository, and we will go ahead and connect this repository with a new Heroku app. We will also share this repository's link so that you can directly clone this repository in your local machine and use this as it is. Okay, so we'll just jump back to the Heroku dashboard. Over here you can just go ahead, create a new app, give a meaningful name to your app. We'll just say PC Sentiment for now. Okay, and I would tell them to connect to GitHub, and I will say them the name of my repository and ask them for search. Okay, this is the repository that I'm going to connect to. Okay, now over here we will just enable auto deployments. So what will this do is, whenever we make any changes directly to the main branch of the GitHub repository, it will directly rebuild the app and provide the latest version in the app. Okay, so we will go ahead and just deploy the branch. So I have already created one app and that is already deployed, so I will just utilize that and not create another app right now, but you can go ahead and create a new app of your own. Okay, so for now I will just jump back, and we have also covered the deployment of a web app in our previous video, so you can also refer to that in case you are stuck somewhere. Okay, so once your app is deployed, it will come up in the dashboard. So this is the app that I have deployed earlier, and you will be able to see the latest version and the latest deployment. Okay, also if you go to GitHub, over here you will be able to see the environments that are actively deployed, and you can go to the deployment as well. Okay, right now you saw that app got redirected to the docs page, so our redirection is also working. Okay, you can also try this out and to get the result. Okay, so now we will move to the Google spreadsheet and create a custom function over there and utilize this app's power in our Google Sheet directly. Okay, now I have jumped back to a Google Sheet, and for this example I have also created a sample form in which you can type in some feedback. And this will get submitted in the Google spreadsheet in a real-time basis. Also, let's have another response. Okay, now we will create a custom function that will utilize the web app that we just deployed in Heroku and send this text over HTTP request and get the sentiment from the app. Okay, now we will go to this extension tab and click on app script. So it will take us to a page like this, over where you can create your own custom functions via Google App Script. So To create a custom function, the syntax starts with a function keyword, and over here you can just specify the function's name just like we do in Python. So I will just name this function as getSentiment. It will take a text as an input or any variable name, and another variable would be the endpoint in which we are sending the request to. So you can get this from the Fast API documentation itself or from the deployment that has been done in Heroku. Okay, so this is the JSON structure of data that we will be sending. So that will be a text keyword, and in that we will be sending our input variable. These are all the options of sending the request. So we will be sending a post request. We will send the type of JSON, and in payload we will just make this JSON as a string object and send over web. Okay, and in response we will get a text again, which will be the sentiment and the representative of the sentiment of the particular text that we have given. So with this custom function in place, let's go back to the Google Sheet and use this custom function on a sample text. Okay, so for this particular text, I see that we have a positive sentiment. So you can directly replicate this as a normal function in Google spreadsheet for any particular cell. Okay, so with this, we have a custom function in Google Sheet in place, which will help you to analyze the sentiment of a particular text. And in order to scale this up, you do not need any Python expert or anyone to understand the sentiments that you're getting from any feedback. And this will be a really handy tool for any small company or business owner or any personnel who is creating a number of surveys on a regular basis. And it will also help you to narrow down on neutral and negative sentiments so that you can focus more on them rather than going over each of the sentiment and figuring out if that was something that you can take as a constructive feedback or not. Also, you can also create some custom dashboards on this column and understand the demographic of the entire feedbacks that you're getting and where you need to focus on. Okay, so with that note, we would like to conclude the session. Please do let us know your feedbacks, suggestion and doubts in the comment section below. And if you have found this video informative and helpful, please do consider liking this and sharing this with your friends and peers. And please subscribe to Naukri Learning for future such videos.